Welcome back to Hot Sport. Welcome back to, again, one of my favorite segments every single week. This is the NFL show. Before we start getting into it today, which is, of course, our top 10 list, as you see on the video, our weekly segment for the NFL. This is basically our NFL post-game, NFL show weekly, our post-game reaction to every single week. This is coming to you on a Thursday, so this is before the next week, and we'll come up with Anton's picks. It was a busy day. We had Premier League show earlier today. But now, it is time for my favorite segment of the week. You guys all know how much fun I have with this, and this is, of course, my top 10 list. Before we get into any of that, make sure you hit a like on the video. Make sure you are subscribing to Hot Sport. We are, again, building this channel. We are putting so much time and effort into it. And yeah, man, we're just trying to build a community where we can put all the sports together, and it's an awesome thing. But this is my segment, my NFL segment. And we might as well not make any time. To begin with, let's recap Anton's picks this week. Man, I'm feeling a lot better myself. 11-5 this week. This is a much big improvement on last week. This is my second best week of the season, so we're looking for a bounce back, and we got it. 11-5. And if it wasn't for the fact, I need to learn that until Tua comes back with the Dolphins, stop being tempted to pick the Dolphins. One reason I do it is because I actually think the roster is really good. But man, I did not realize just how valuable Tua really is to Miami. It's like as if, doesn't matter all the talent in the world. Man, they finally got into the end zone for the first time since, I think, week 1 on Monday Night Football. So, yeah, and I could have been 12-4. I mean, I feel like that was out there. The Tennessee Titans pick was out there. And I did battle with it, but in the end I didn't go for it. But 11-5, nonetheless. Should we get into it? Of course, this is the segment now where we discuss the off-the-list list. All right, it's the sub-segment within the big segment. It's the off-the-list list. So, off the list. Man, I hate to do this. I feel like every other week this is happening. The Philadelphia Eagles are off the list. Obviously, they have no business being in the top 10 list after the performance we put in Tampa Bay. Obviously, it's very well documented for those who have watched the post-game show on Jacob Sport. And as well, my reaction to this video. By the way, just on the topic, my apologies for not getting out a bunch of my post-reaction and scores for the week 4 scores. It was just a really, really crazy week. I had so much going on with work, and I only have so many hours in the day. Unfortunately, it got sacrificed. But they will be back this week. That is just a blip. But the top 10 segment rolls on. But the Eagles, look, I think they'll be back on the list. Well, wait until A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, and the Eagles will all be fully healthy by the time we come back from the bye. But for now, that performance in Tampa Bay, I caveated it by saying that I expected it to happen because of the weather, where we were going at 108 degrees, and as well the missing players for the Eagles. But for now, they will be removed from the list. Also off the list, for the first time this season, they've made a fall from grace over the last 2 weeks from second place in my rankings after week 2 to the number 1 offense after week 2 to now off the list. The New Orleans Saints, after having lost back-to-back games to the Eagles and to the Falcons, they have now been removed from the list. Again, a very, very hot start. They're the hottest team in football, and all of a sudden now they have come back down to earth to probably around about where they should be, which is I have them above 500 this year, and I have them making the playoffs. But for now, they have been moving off of the top 10 list. Also off the top 10 list, the New York Jets. What are you doing only scoring 3 field goals against the Denver Broncos? Can't register a touchdown at home against the Denver Broncos? I was literally going on last week about how Aaron Rodgers and blah, blah, blah. I don't even want to give those praises this week because he doesn't deserve it. And they had so many chances to win that game. And the Broncos were there for the taking. And there's no excuses here. At home, I thought the New York Jets were on the ascendancy. They were on the rise after 2 straight wins. And that was a real shocker in the early window there against the Broncos at home. And finally off the list, the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers' old team. 0-2, 2-0 with Malik Willis, 0-2 with Jordan Love. Man, the Green Bay Packers, they need to get it together. Like, for real. I thought the floor coach were reaching really good ball games when they were limited, but then they got their man back. Again, credit must go to the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to talk about them later on the list. I actually think that I have picked against the Minnesota Vikings, it just occurred to me, in all 4 weeks of my picks. I even picked the Giants to beat the Vikings in Anton's picks. Man, they're 4-0, and they are for real, and they will get their flowers later on. So again, but at Lambeau Field, I expected with Jordan Love back that they would beat the Vikings, but the Vikings still proved their solidity, and that is the off-the-list list. Shall we get into our top 10 list? Cue the NFL music. Now, again, every single week because, the records are changing in the scenario, and I think everything starts taking more shape. Everything keeps moving on, and the weeks move on, there'll be less movement on this list as the NFL starts to create a clear picture of who is real and who are the solid top 10, and I think you'll find a more consistent top 10. But at the moment, it's fun because of all the movement. But to quickly tell you the rules, of course, we average in record. So this time around, they are 2 remaining unbeaten. They obviously are going to be 1 and 2 on this list. And then they are 7 3-1 teams. So if you are 3-1, you are on the list. And then there was the number 10 team was one of the best of the 500 teams at 2-2. So only really one of those huge amount of 2-2 teams, which is I think the bulk of the NFL, only one of them made the list. But if you're 3-1, if you've lost only 1 game this season, you are on this list. And if you've not lost at all, obviously you are on the list. That is combined with the opponents that you have played throughout the season. The rank where I have those opponents ranked, so it's obviously strength of schedule. I've thrown in my preseason ranking for them, which I think overall shows you how talented I believe the teams are. And then the other thing that we've done is point differential and points scored. All 4 of those categories put together, combined, so to create this beautiful list. Shall we get into it? At number 10, the Baltimore Ravens make the list for the very first time this season. My preseason Super Bowl contenders. I told you eventually they would be on the list, and boy, oh boy, do they deserve it. Number 10 feels like it is very, putting them a bit low, but again, everybody else has a better record on this list than them, which is the only reason why they're at number 10. But over back-to-back weeks, they have put on a clinic on the run game. Derrick Henry this week against the Buffalo Bills, an undefeated Buffalo Bills that was ranked number 2 last week. They literally spanked them. They've done to the Buffalo Bills what the Buffalo Bills was doing to everybody else. They put out a statement at home on Sunday Night Football for the world to see, and the Baltimore Ravens, after having beaten the Cowboys last week, are now back. Just 0-2 are now 2-2, and they've now finally made it into the top 10 list. Look, I expect them, it depends. Look, the NFL is a very unpredictable league, but I expect them to remain on this list from here on out. They are just, in my opinion, they actually have them ranked number 1 as the best team in the NFL at the preseason and obviously my Super Bowl pick. At number 9, also making their first appearance on the list this season, Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. What an incredible rookie performance display. His completion percentage is at a historical pace for a rookie. Just remarkable. They absolutely dismantled the Cardinals. And after the amazing showing, look, they were close to making the list last week. They were knocking on the door after their performance on Monday Night Football last week against the Bengals. And this week in the late window against the Cardinals, they went on the road to the desert and absolutely shellacked the Arizona Cardinals. And man, the Washington Commanders are first place in the NFC East, and they have had a remarkable start to the season. So they are number 9 on the list. At number 8, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, back on the list after I removed them last week, after they put on a spanking of my team. I can give the Eagles all the excuses in the world, and I've been doing that because I need to defend my team. But on this segment, the top 10 segment, I was always going to come back and give the Buccaneers their flowers. They were looked remarkable on the offensive side of the ball, especially in the first half. Baker Mayfield has been on really good form this season. They went up 24-0 on us, and kind of went Arsenal mode there, and then tried to keep solid the rest of the game, even though the Eagles came back into it. They made the big strip sack on Hurts to really put an end to the game and really end all hopes at the back end of the third quarter. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after being embarrassed at home the week prior to the Broncos, put on a statement against the Eagles. Now, of course, the Eagles, as I said, didn't have the full deck and they had their hands tied behind their back. But nonetheless, the Buccaneers had to do the job. The Buccaneers look great, and I'm not taking nothing away from them. They are number 8 on the list. At number 7, also back on the list, after what happened last week, the Houston Texans bounced back. They beat their division rivals, the 0-4 Jacksonville Jaguars, and now are back on the list at number 7, CJ Stroud. I feel like this is now 3 weeks in a row. I've been talking about him. He's such a good quarterback. He came up clutch in the end to win the game for the Texans, showing you why he's a top quarterback. They've got the weapons around him, and the Texans are an exciting team. I think they're really exciting on the offensive side of the ball. I still think there's some holes for them on defense. There are questions, considering the Jaguars probably put in their best performance of the season. The Jaguars almost left Houston with a win, but at the end of the day, the Houston Texans got it done. Their algorithm puts them at 7 on my list. At number 6, down one spot out of the top 5. Even though this team has lost this week, the Seattle Seahawks, this is one of the very first times, the 49ers were on it after a loss, but one of the very first times that teams remain on the list after losses. That's because we're into week 4 now. We're 25% through the season, and the list starts to be consistent, starts to take shape. The Seattle Seahawks are number 6 on the list. They lost. They actually put a really impressive, as the road team against the Detroit Lions. They had the Lions in a tight ball game till the end, until the Lions pull it off with that Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown and the pick to seal the deal at the end of the game. But the Seattle Seahawks, their first real test of the season, even though they lost, I thought they were competitive against the Detroit Lions, and they are number 6 on the list. But let's get ready for the top 5 Hot Sport Power Rankings. Anton's Power Rankings. Let's go. The best 5 teams in the NFL, according to my algorithm. At number 5, and you would think after they finally lost their first game of the season that I would drop the Pittsburgh Steelers off the list, but they are in at number 5, about where they've averaged out the whole year. They've been at 6, they've been at 5, they've been at 4, now they're back at 5. This is their average position, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, The most consistent top 5 team one of the most consistent top 5 teams on this list. They made an appearance every single week, 6 or better. And look, they did lose this week to the Indianapolis Colts. And again, questions about, I don't know as much questions, because I thought the Steelers' offense still looked good. I think the Colts had a really good performance in this game. This is their worst defensive performance, I'd say, statistically for sure, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But look, they are still top 5 on this list. Mike Tomlin's a very good coach. But yeah, let's see. Every single week, they're a top 5 team, and the algorithm keeps putting them there. At number 4, the Detroit Lions. They've moved up 5 spots from number 9 to number 4. This is probably where a lot of people feel they deserve to be. And after that really impressive performance, Jared Goff with a perfect game. No 100% completion percentage for Jared Goff against the Seattle Seahawks on a Monday night. The ball never touched the ground. The Lions look really good on the offensive side of the ball. Again, they've leaned on their defense the last couple of weeks. This time they leaned on their offense, and this was the best offensive showing by the Lions by far of the season. This is the Lions that I thought everyone would be seeing, the one that we saw last season. And again, really impressive in front of the world on a Monday night. And the Detroit Lions, dude, they are in the top 4. But let's move on. At number 3, another team that's lost, dropping 1 spot from number 2, the Buffalo Bills. They lost to the team that's number 10 on this list. But the first 3 weeks of domination still have to be taken into account. Again, they lost against a team that was my Super Bowl favorites. The first time they've looked mortal this season. They looked about, actually, in this game, how I thought they would look on the season. So let's see what their season looks like moving forward. But at the moment, the Buffalo Bills are still top 3, but they're not top 2, though. They are not top 2, though. At number 2, the team that defies the odds every single week, the Minnesota Vikings. I picked against them, as I mentioned earlier in this video, 4 times, and they've won all 4 games. They're one of 2 unbeaten teams in the NFL. Look at who they're taking names every week. The San Francisco 49ers, that was the real alert. Then they beat the Houston Texans, also on this list. Now they've beaten the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field with Jordan Love back at quarterback. And this one was tight, right? They only won by 2 points. But, man, the Minnesota Vikings deserve to be on the list at number 2. What a remarkable story. They are so far are the surprise of the season, and it's not even close. Incredible. Stop putting disrespect in the Minnesota Vikings name. I have to take my own advice on that, because let's see. When week 5 rolls around, I'm going to make Anton's picks later on today. Am I still picking the Vikings? I will let you know. Keep on to our Instagram for that. And finally, at number 1, the team that's been at number 1 the entire year, the team that was number 1 at the end of last year, the defending Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Rashee Rice, injured, could be out for the season. That is something to keep your eye on. Once more, an interesting ball game. They won by 1 touchdown in Los Angeles. I reckon this was their worst offensive showing of the season still. But they've got the pedigree, they've got the history, they've got the consistency. They're still one of 2 4-0 teams, and given that they are the Super Bowl champions, that makes them number 1 on my list. Now, to recap. At number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions. At number 2, and they deserve to be here, the Minnesota Vikings. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills. At number 4, the Detroit Lions. At number 5, the Pittsburgh Steelers. At number 6, the Seattle Seahawks. At number 7, the Houston Texans. At number 8, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At number 9, the Washington Commanders. And at number 10 on your program, the Baltimore Ravens. And that has been my top 10 list. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Once again, apologies if I did not come out with my post-match reactions. I only had one, which was the Eagles game. Trust me, I am not hiding anywhere talking about... because the Eagles lost, I didn't want to talk about football. That is not the case. Just to give you a showing of my personal life, I've been back in the office this week, and I had a lot of work, very busy Monday, and I just had no time in the day to do it. I did record a show on Tuesday that I was trying to get out called Truth Tuesdays. It's something I'm going to do, but I just didn't get it right with the audio and stuff this time, so the video never saw the light of day. But I'm not hiding from any of this stuff. Obviously, I discussed the Eagles loss on this video and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on this video. But yeah, I apologize for not getting out those this week. Next week is going to be a whole other story. I will make sure that I get that all to you. But everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Week 5 begins tomorrow. On Thursday Night Football, and we will see you guys later. Take care. Peace.